Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. Just thought I'd return to you again for this early afternoon for the second album that's I'm interested in of the six albums that come out for August 8th. This is the long-awaited studio album from Babymetal with their album Metal Fourth. The album that was supposed to be out, I think, June 27th, but then got pushed back to August 8th. So, I'm going to discuss what I listened to for Babymetal's Metal Fourth album and let you know my thoughts on the 10 tracks on this record overall. So, let's dive into Babymetal's fourth studio album, Metal Fourth. Now, like I said, I did a reason why on this, and I was really disappointed that they delayed it, but I can understand why now. Because they were trying to get it out everywhere, and then things got pushed back and delayed due to probably production issues or something. But overall, it was just sales. They were trying to get it out to the U.S., but there was things about the tariffs that were affecting it, so it was hard to get the albums sold and all that. So overall, it starts with "From Me to You" featuring Poppy, which is a very good song. I really enjoyed this one. I think Sui Metal's singing in this was really good, and Poppy's screaming potential was really strong in this track. So this is a 5 out of 5. Probably one of my favorite singles off this record. One of them, Ratatata, featuring Electric Callboy, is a pretty safe track. And give me a second, I gotta pause the video. Sorry about that, guys. Had to pause the video for a moment. My cat wanted out of my room. So, Ratatata, featuring Electric Callboy, is a pretty safe track. I mean, the intro is kind of cringy with how Electric Callboy, one of the guys in the band, sings it. But the screaming potential is pretty strong in this track, and overall, Sui Metal's singing was alright for the most part. It was an electronic disco kind of track, but it did alright, so it's a 4.75 out of 5. Then we get to song 3 featuring Slaughter to Prevail. This one is one of my favorite ones. Probably a personal favorite on this record. And this was on the Slaughter to Prevail Grizzly album that dropped July 18th. This single, but I'm glad it's on two albums. It's on the Grizzly album from Slaughter to Prevail, and it's also on this album as the third track on the record. But overall, I think Slaughter to Prevail did a very good job. Alex Terrible's screaming potential in Russian is really strong. In the Russian language is very strong. And overall, Sui Metal's singing was really good in the chorus, and the weirdest part was the other Babymetal members that were singing Moa Metal and Koba Metal, I believe is her name. But overall, I think Song 3 featuring Slaughter to Prevail is a banger of a song and definitely kicks ass. So 5 out of 5. Kong Kong featuring Bloody Wood, I think is okay. It's grown on me a little, but I don't see it as a reminiscing track, song to remember off this record. It's gonna get a 3.25 out of 5. It's okay. It's tolerable. I know when I did the track review on July 11th, I didn't like the track. I still don't like the track, but I think it's okay. I think Bloody Wood did very good with their verses. However, the chorus is not memorable, honestly. So it's probably a 3.25 out of 5 for this track. It's a least favorite. It's one of the okay tracks, but still a least favorite on this record. But not as bad as the next song. Then we get to Kawaii, and that's a bad song, honestly. I didn't like this track for how it sounded. I think Sui Metals did some rapping in this track, and it was not executing very well. So this is a 2.5 out of 5 for this track. Very disappointed with this song, unfortunately. Then we get to Sunset Kiss. This one was actually a song that you could listen to from an anime show. One of the popular anime shows. It just depends on which one, but it sounds really good for the execution. I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5 for this track. I think overall, Babymetal singing in it was really good. The drumming was pretty strong, and execution-wise, it did fairly well. But give me a second, I gotta pause the video again. I am so sorry about pausing the video, guys. My cat did not know what he wanted to do. He was meowing at my door, so yeah, I just had to let him back in. So, Sunset Kiss, like I said, 4.75 out of 5. Really enjoyed this track. Then we get to My Queen featuring Courtney LaPlante of Spirit Box. This was a really good track. Really enjoyed this one. The screaming potential from Courtney LaPlante was good. There were some electronic auto-tune mixing vocals with her screaming potential. It did work for how it sounded. So I'd give this a 5 out of 5. I think this was a very strong track. Execution-wise, it panned out pretty well. Algorithm. This song was another really good one. I was really enjoying this track for how it sounded. And execution-wise, it did fairly well for how it was sounding. Babymetal's singing potential was pretty strong, and overall, this track fared pretty well for the most part. So yeah, this is a 5 out of 5 for this track. Metally featuring Tom Morello was kind of annoying of a song. I'd have to give this one like a 2.75 out of 5. It's the most disappointing song, along with Kawaii. And Kong Kong was another least favorite, but not the worst, but not the best. So, yeah, Metally featuring Tom Morello, I think the song had potential, but it failed in the execution. So I was a little disappointed with this track. 2.75 out of 5. And then the closing track, White Flame, closes out the record, and in a very strong way. At least it started off good, had a few bumps in the road through this record, which is going to ruin the reception of this album. But overall, I think White Flame is a 5 out of 5. I think this was an enjoyable closing track, but overall, I don't know if it saved the record from kind of not being that great. So overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, like I said, White Flame's getting a 5 out of 5. I did enjoy this track, but the execution of the album and overall production mixing, I'm just disappointed with this record. I wanted to like this record. There were some songs I was liking on this record, like From Me to You, Ratatata, Song 3, Kong Kong is okay, but not the best track. I was trying to like the song, but I think I was trying too hard to like this track. So it's kind of like in the disappointing range. So I think I was right to give it a negative rating. So I may decide to downgrade it to a 2.75 out of 5 to change my rating. I know I'm kind of being indecisive on my rating system. I don't know how I felt about Kong Kong featuring Bloodywood. At least Bloodywood did sound pretty good with their verses. But overall, it's just Babymetal singing just didn't sound interesting enough to keep me wanting to listen to it. So yeah, 2.75 out of 5 is going back to Kong Kong. Featuring Bloodywood. Bloodywood was the highlight. Babymetal was kind of the disappointing aspect of the track. Like Babymetal's singing performance at the opening verse was kind of annoying. Kawaii is a bad song, and then finally Metally featuring Tom Morello is another bad track, so give me a second, I gotta pause the video. I'm sorry for pausing the video a few times throughout this video. It's just my mom was talking to me for a second. So, to finish up, if I were to give Babymetal Metal Fourth a score, I'm feeling a 5 out of 10. It's not a good record. The hype was there with some tracks, but then it was ruined as you listen through the rest of the record. So it's going to go down as probably the worst Babymetal record I've listened to recently. So I was very disappointed. I really wanted to like this record. And I found maybe 3 songs that ruined the reception and killed the reception of this record. Sorry about the dinging. It's my phone's dinging away. So, yeah. 5 out of 10 for Babymetal Metal Fourth. I hope you enjoyed this album review. I'm sorry it's a disappointing album review. I really wanted to like this, but it failed in the execution, with a few tracks being the least favorites, like Kong Kong, Kawaii, and Mentally. So, yeah. With that being said, thanks for watching this album review today.